is time to go over the final market of 2025. Now, this feels really weird because it's mid-November. Why do I have my last market of the year? But it was kind of a combination of a lot of things where I didn't apply in time to a bunch of markets. I got waitlisted to the ones I did apply to, and just also we're going to try something new this year where I do also sell in stores, and one of them I've been a part of for many years, and I usually struggle to keep them stocked. So I'm hoping that this year, without trying to split my focus between the two, dumping all of my inventory to them will help me to not be out of stock. Which currently I have the opposite problem where I have way too much stuff to give them, because usually at the end of the year I just wipe out my market inventory and start fresh for the next year, with the exception of a couple of big things. But I have over $3,000 of inventory to give my two stores, so quite a bit. But if you're having a wedding in September when a bunch of Christmas market applications come out, don't forget to apply to those. But this was a kind of last minute addition. I have done this market in the past before, and I really like this market coordinator, so I applied last minute. Last minute is in like with a month to go to the market, and he did accept me, and he was excited to see me again because I haven't actually done any of his markets this year. He used to do my Friday night ones that I've been showing throughout the year, but he sold them off to somebody else this year. So it was nice to be able to do one of his markets again. I mentioned that I've done this market before, so this was my third year doing it. 2023 was the first year that they were an addition. So this is an outdoor mall. Their tree lighting ceremony for the year. So 2023 they added on the market because he was doing markets at this mall, just not affiliated with or not at the same time as the tree lighting. So they added it on in 2023. And that one was kind of like an invite only. So thankfully he thought of me and invited me. So I will share with you the sales numbers on top of how much the booth fee was. This booth fee has doubled in the past 2 years. So I think also because this was a last minute market in 2023, that's why it was so cheap. His markets are never this cheap. But in 2023 I made $710 at this market with a $79 booth fee. And then in 2024 I made $753 but a $129 booth fee. So both of those were about in the $631, $624 after subtracting out booth fee. And then this year the booth fee was $140. So almost double what it was 2 years ago. But that is what he's charging for his other markets. And if you've seen my other market day videos where I've been paying $350 for a market, I'll take a $140 market. But unfortunately I did not vlog very much at this market, kind of both due to they were playing copyrighted music near me, and also I'm camera shy, so sorry guys. But I will play the clips that I did get here. Happy market day. This is the last one of 2025, and it is a 4-hour market from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. This is how we are looking like to start. I still need to put out the ear warmer stand, but we've got about 30 minutes to go before the market, but there's a lot of people, so I wanted to go ahead and get this video made. So I've done this market in the past, and last year we made $750, so I'm hoping to do about $800. It is a tree lighting ceremony, so there's lots of families. Even though it started at 4, it got pretty busy come 3, so I did get here, or I aimed to get here right when setup started, but I was about 15 minutes late, but that's okay. I am directly across from another crocheter, which just makes it hard to, it is community over competition, but having them directly across from you makes it suck to see when currently they have about 15 people in their tent and I have 0. but then all those people will come over here, and people like to compare prices more when you are directly across. So that could be helpful or detrimental. It just kind of depends on whatever they have versus what I have. It's a little bit more in depth. We got the squids up there. This is all of the axolotls, all the pocket pals left, turtles, frogs, cats, all the, at least these three bestsellers and one-offs, some jellies, booty turtles, and some of the bigger plushies. Got some hats set up, some bigger ones in there, and then my favorite thing at this market, cat butts. So I'm hoping the ornaments sell. I clearanced out all the ceramic ones. Lots of fun goodies, and that's where I ended up putting the earwormer stand. It's 4:36, and so far we've sold either 3 or 4 pocket pals, 1 axolotl, and 2 chipper frog hats. So whatever that amount is. I knew this setup was going to be an issue when I did it. Look at all of these misplaced guys. Right. 2 parcels? Do you want a bag?
No, thank you.
Okay. Alright, this is going to be your total with tax. This little black box hiding back here. Let's ask if you want a receipt. Alright, thank you.
Thank you.
This is how we are ending the market. It's definitely going to be a close call for bestsellers between axolotls and the earwormers. I don't think we sold any pottery, but the earwormers, there's a lot of empty spots. So apologies if I keep looking down. I'm trying something new where I kind of made a script of things I want to talk about, which I probably should be doing anyway instead of just making it up on the fly. But that's why I'm looking down if I do. But this market felt weird compared to previous years. It could just be my memories wrong, but it felt slower than previous markets of this specific one, the tree lighting ceremony, which could be a variety of things of the government just reopened and the economy sucks, lots of things. But this is a free event to attend, so there definitely were a lot of people here for the tree ceremony. And then I feel like I remember in the past, they would then, as soon as the tree is lit, which is about an hour into the market, they then swarm the tents, which didn't happen this year. It was kind of like a slow trickle throughout the day. Or at night, I should say, because this market was from 4 to 8. So I did go into this market remembering that axolotls do really well, especially the light pink ones. And we did this last year, which was a wild day because it was a double market day. So I debated doing that again this year because the same market was in the morning, but again, I didn't apply to markets in time. So last year we did a high school market in the morning, and I believe there was an hour gap between markets, but you've got to commute, which it was about an hour away, and then set up, tear down. So a lot of coordination went into it of splitting all of my stuff and trying to like split inventory as well. So Henry and I both went to the first market, and then I left early, went and set up the second market. He finished the first market, and then he tore that one down and then came and joined me. So I was waiting for more inventory to come, and I remember panic texting him and being like, hurry up, I need the axolotls you have, because even though I had plenty of axolotls, people were like, oh, I wanted the light pink one, and you don't have light pink, so therefore I'm not buying one. I also remember I had to use the bathroom one year. It was probably last year, actually, and it felt like I was swimming upstream because I could barely make it through the crowd to get to the bathroom. So I don't know, maybe it was slower this year, maybe my memory is wrong, but we still did good. So I also knew both of my neighbors. So the one to my left, I do lots of markets with her. I chat with her all the time. I don't think we've ever actually been neighbors. Normally we're like, I can see you across the way, but she sells baked goods. So of course I had to buy some cookies. And then my other neighbor was actually my neighbor from last week's market, the Cat Festival. So we chatted with them at the end of Cat Fest when it was slow for that past hour. So we were next to them again, and when we were packing up, the guy, he literally joked, he said, "Will I see you next week?" And then directly across from me, I believe I mentioned it in the market clips, but there was another crocheter. And this is totally fine. But it's hard when they're directly across from you because, at least for me, I struggle with comparing myself to be like, oh, they're selling more than me. That's actually why I make axolotls now. Weird story. I had a market, I was directly across from someone, and I had been refusing to make axolotls up to this point. And I just watched her, it was a 2-day market, I watched her the entire weekend just sell axolotls over and over and over, and I was like, oh, fine, I guess I'll make axolotls. And now they're just about always in my best sellers list. But it was not just the two of us. There were 4 crocheters. So that's out of 36 vendors, which is 11%. But not all 36 of those vendors were small businesses. There were quite a few big businesses mixed in there, like Red Robin was giving out coupons. So not all 36 were handmade sellers, but I feel like I was probably the 4th edition because I applied a month beforehand, whereas the application's been out since like March or something, so probably my fault. But the one directly across from me, I went and chatted with her at the end of the market. She was really cool, and I'm gonna buy some crochet patterns from her. I need to message her though because she sells on Etsy, and the signal's terrible at this location. So I kept connecting to K Jewelers for making sales, and there were a couple of times I had to make the customer wait because I got disconnected from Wi-Fi and then had to reconnect. It's a mess there. But I could not get her Etsy to load, so I just took a picture of it, and then I finally got it to load, and the 2 patterns that I wanted to buy that she said were hers and her tint I don't see on the Etsy, so I need to message her and be like, hey, did I misunderstand, or are they just not listed right now? So something that I wasn't sure how would come out, the weather has been really weird here in Denver lately. We're actually, in a bad way, setting records where we have not had any snow at all, not even like any snowflakes at all. It is mid-November. Our average for snow is October 18th. So it's been really warm, which is not good. I was literally sweating while setting up for this market. And then when the sun went down, because the market started at 4, people started shopping at 3, but I knew that going in, so I started setting up at the earliest part of the range. Like as soon as they opened the street, I started setting up. Sun went down about 4:30, I think, somewhere around there, which is awful. Why is the sun setting at 4:30? But like I said, I was sweating, and then when the sun went down, it was hoodie weather. I think there was one point where I was a little cold and was like, man, I wish I had my coat, but that probably would have been overkill, honestly. So I was like, well, dang, I really want to sell my ear warmers because I haven't even made any this year. I just have so many. I think I had like 40 something. I honestly should probably count them. But I only sell them at markets right now because selling them in stores, I can't find a nice way to display them, and then nobody really knows what they are, and then I'm just wasting space on my shelf. And then online, I'm honestly too lazy to, just about every single one is unique, and I don't want to make listings for all of those. Also, I rarely make online sales, so in my opinion, it's going to be a waste of my time unless you all think I should go ahead and list them all. But unfortunately, the cold weather didn't hit, and I only brought them out to 2 markets this year. And honestly, I'll probably, in January, February, I really like going through and using the knitting machine. So I still have a bunch of acrylic yarn, and my goal is to just get rid of all of my acrylic yarn, use it up in beanies and ear warmers. But thankfully, putting them out was a fantastic idea because they actually were my #1 bestseller. So we will jump into what all sold. So like I mentioned, the bestseller of this market were ear warmers. and I sold 10 of them. And I sell them for $20 each. So that's $200 right there. But I am going to start defining my bestsellers, as I have to sell 5 or more for it to make the list. So there's only 3 bestsellers this week. Second place, like I mentioned, I thought was going to be, we sold 8 axolotls. So of course the majority of those were light pink, and then of various other colors here and there. Shockingly though, I thought light blue would do better, and I think we sold like 1 light blue. Oh well, they are now already at my stores to start selling. And then the third bestseller that I was excited to give to my stores, but it sold. So that's a good problem to have. But the chick with frog hat, I sold 5 of them. I believe I left the market with 1. Yeah, I left with 1 on this past Monday. So 2 days after this market, I brought it to my store. It sold that day. So I'm currently working on prepping some more. But those are the best sellers. So now we'll go over the other items that sold. So pocket octopus just barely didn't make the list because I sold 4, and those I sold for $12 a piece. They are part of my spinning rack, and I feel like people love to dig through that, and anytime people ask me my cheapest item, I just point over there. So I also sold 1 stingray and 1 spider. And what's nice about these is they are my quickest make. I know a lot of people sell items similar for $5. I sell them for $12. I used to sell them for $10, but then one of the owners at the store I sell in, she was like, listen, as a mom, $12 versus $10 isn't that big of a difference. Up it. I also think I'm going to up it to $13 next year because I'm going to be raising a lot of my prices. But these, normally just about every market I sell at least 1, usually more than 1. Usually they're in the bestsellers list. And because these are such quick makes, I can have a higher profit margin on these, so that, say, my 2-hour long make, I don't need to have as high of a profit margin, so I can make it be a little cheaper. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, comment and I can try to clarify more. But also, just with supply and demand, if I had these for $5, I would never have them in stock because people would just buy them faster than I could make them. So that's why I have mine at $12, and I like making them in variegated yarns. So if I ever get bored, I just sit there and start whipping them up. And at one point I had over 100, I think, of the pocket octos at my market, which was very nice to see a very full bucket for that. I sold 3 possums. 2 of them were to one couple. So, and then if you've been following along on my whole debacle about mallard ducks and chickens, by the way, subscribe if you haven't already. Yeah, we sold 1 mallard duck, 0 chickens. So, I don't know. I'm having a weird time lately where they used to be some bestsellers, and sometimes they'd even sell out. But now, like you see here, I'm selling 1 and 0. So I might take a break from them at least for a little bit. It also could be because I was one of 4 vendors, and across from me had chickens. I think she had Mabel chickens. I'm currently not making Mabel chickens because the yarn I like to use, I don't have. And I haven't gotten any more. But that's just how it's going. I think it's mostly just everyone has them, is my guess at least. And then I sold 1 mushy boy. I sold 1 tofu turtle. I think it was green, but of course I didn't write it down. I have it on my website. I could look up, but on my spreadsheet I combined them, so I didn't write down how many. And then I sold a booty turtle. Finally, I sold those 2 snakes I made from Crochet by Jenna's book in part 1. They went to 2 brothers. So those are sold. And then I sold 1 of the Joyous Jellyfish and 1 of the Fabulous Fish from Jenna's book. Also, this one's from part 2 that I just posted, the very last video from this one. And then the last plushie sold was 1 baby squid. I still have so many baby squid because I made, I think, like 20 of them in a week because I was testing out all of the variegated yarns of the blanket yarn that Premier Yarn sells to just see how the colors work up. And they're selling slowly, but they're getting there. Now I've got to figure out what to do for putting them in stores because I like to know what color sells, but I'm not about to make a bunch of listings because I have 10 of them left. So maybe I'll hold on to those for markets next year. I don't know. I'll figure it out. We did sell a handful of stickers. Now all of these were to one person, but they ended up buying 5 for $10 at first, and then they came back for the 2 for $5 deal. So they ended up getting 3 of the frog stickers. So 1 pansexual, 1 progress, and 1 transgender. And then my Triceratops sticker, they got 2 of the blue and 2 of the pink. And then a real bummer was Pottery. All I sold were 3 ornaments. Now, I put these on clearance this year because I think I made them 2 Christmas. So this is their third Christmas being out. There's a variety of like textured ones that I glazed with fun glazes, and then like stamps of animals that I spent the time to underglaze and paint all of them. I originally had them listed for $10 and $15, and they were not really selling, and I was like, I want these gone. So I said all of the ceramic ornaments, I specified ceramic, were $5 a piece. So one family did buy 3. The reason I specified ceramic is because I also had the funniest, I think this is my favorite make ever, of cat butts that go onto the tree. I'll throw a picture up over here that I took at the market. But unfortunately they didn't sell. They did get a lot of laughs, especially the one with balls on it. But it was a real bummer to see that it wasn't a waste, because the second store I sell in, this is pretty much the only thing that sells there are my herb strippers. And I spent 3 weeks, not 3 full weeks, but 2 days, 2 days, 3 days in the studio panic prepping. I ended up making, I think it was 87 herb strippers and 15 garlic graters, and none of the herb strippers sold this week, and I only sold 2 last week. And then the garlic graters, I still haven't gotten around to taking photos of and making their listing, so they didn't even go to the markets. But the herb strippers sell really well at my store that I'm not really making money at. So I'm planning to fully prep them with herb strippers. I have a bunch set aside right now to go to them, so that hopefully I can profit a little this holiday season in that store, because I have yet to profit. I believe only 2 months have I sold more than rent costs, and more goes into that than just rent. So yeah, but I'm currently stuck in a lease there. I am there until Memorial Day. But we'll make the best out of a good situation, and if people want to buy herb strippers there, I will give them herb strippers. But unfortunately, they didn't work out at the market, and normally those are best sellers at my markets. But we'll go over how much we made, because I'm sure you're curious. So, at this market, I sold $783. And I don't just subtract out the booth fee and call it good. I look deeply into my numbers. So I subtract out labor and materials and other things, which you'll see here in just a second. But I want to specify a little bit more because I did get a question about it. So when I say labor to make products and subtract it out, I pay myself for that item once it sells. So if I make, say, a cow plushie in January and it doesn't sell until October, October is when I get paid for making that cow. that's how I currently do it. I would love to do it a different way, but unfortunately the business does not have a lot of extra cash to pay myself as I make it, so I pay myself when it sells. I also pay myself for working the event because I'm still working. I'm not going to go to a shift say I work at Jimmy John's. I'm not going to go work 5 hours at Jimmy John's and not get paid just because I own Jimmy John's, which I definitely don't. So I know some people get confused by that. I personally think if I'm at work, I'm getting paid. So that's kind of how I do it. But I'd love to get to a point at some point where the business is financially stable enough to just salary myself. But we're not there yet. Hopefully one day. But from the 783, I already told you our booth fee was $140, so we'll subtract that out. There was no application fee for this market. And then material costs for what sold. I feel like this is too cheap, but my spreadsheet says for what sold only $48.43 is what went into it. But I guess part of that is I don't know how much materials go into an ear warmer. So maybe that's why it's so low, because currently it says $0 of materials for ear warmers, and that was $200 of my $700 sales. But then I talked about I pay myself when it sells. So labor to make the products is $231.81. And then I was at the booth for 4 hours. So I don't currently calculate in setup and tear down. Again, one day I hope to be able to do that. Also, Henry was there. I hope to one day be able to pay him too, but he's currently fine with not getting paid. So labor to work those 4 hours was $76. And I live in Colorado where the minimum wage is much higher than federal minimum wage. So I do pay myself less to work the event than I do to make items. So kind of evens out a little. But the business profit for this market came out to $286.77. And wow, can I say that was such a relief. Because if you've seen these last couple market videos, it's been $3, $10, $85, which is great and all. I'm so grateful I am in the green. But I still have other expenses I need to pay, such as like I need to pay for my Pottery Guild studio. I pay them a monthly fee to use the resources. And then I also have to pay my business, or my website I have to pay a monthly fee for, and other stuff like that. So, I mentioned that store earlier that I said I am not even making rent, let alone those 2 months, one of which is this month, that I made more than rent, did not even cover materials and labor for those. So like areas that are red need to be made up for and areas of green somewhere. So then would I do this market again? Probably. It was really nice the past 2 years that I guess only 2023, because I used to live about 10 minutes away from this place, and now I live 40 to 60 minutes depending on traffic. So I wish we lived 10 minutes away again, but I'll probably do this one again. It's a pretty decent market. I mean, the real gamble is what's the weather gonna be, because I was fully prepared for it to be freezing and it wasn't, which is very bad for the world, especially because without having snow yet, a lot of places depend on Colorado snow for their drinking water. Also, in 2021, when we had a similar late snow, there was a really bad wildfire here in December. So, knock on wood. I'm really hoping that doesn't happen again, but it's not great what the weather's doing right now. So, will I do it again? Probably. We'll see. This year I signed up a month beforehand. But that's it for markets this year, unfortunately. We're still in limbo a little bit about moving. We are leaning on the not moving spot or part of that. So it does kind of depend on a couple of things. But assuming we stay, I am starting to make a list for markets next year that I would like to do. And it looks like there's going to be a lot of March and April markets that I'd like to do. So if you like the market videos, don't worry, they'll be coming back. Please subscribe if you haven't already. And I will be doing Vlogmas this year. And I'm going to treat my store, I guess both stores, one store more than the other, like a market. So yeah, I'll probably do at the end of December a breakdown of how the two stores went, kind of like a market video. But yeah, we're doing Vlogmas this December, so really subscribe if you haven't already because it should be lots of fun. I have a couple of challenges planned that I want to do, and we're going to be prepping to make sure that both stores stay fully in stock, doing a bunch of restock days in the stores, and lots of fun there. But thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye!